report that I intend to tender into evidence. And I would like the opportunity and the right to try and enter whatever evidence I may have through this witness. If they have an objection, I would just ask that it be taken up at that time.
The evidence is entered. The report was done. The fact is, he didn't read all these things in the report, so and he's already testified as such to that. With the iPhone, he did a limited search on the 18th, did a report of exactly what he searched on that day, and that's it. For them to go into this witness with things that he never researched, looked at, or anything like that is completely improper. It's the wrong witness, Judge.
Well, I guess it's in the nature of a motion, verbal motion in limine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Judge, yes.
The judge, it's their evidence that this witness created. He created this report, and during the lunch break, I asked him to take a look at it, see if he could identify it. He opened it up and said, yes, I created this.
Well, I'm gonna deny the motion in limine. You're gonna have to make your objections, but at a certain point, if it's developing the way that I'm hearing it's anticipated it will be by Mr. Boring, then we'll revisit this.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So I think we need to sit back, wait and see what happens, and make your objections. And if you want to approach the bench to renew your motion in limine at some point, you're invited to do so. And then I'll send the jury out and we'll take it up if it develops that way.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Nothing from this day.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cheston. Please bring the jury.
Please be seated.
I hope you all enjoyed the lunch. At least it was good and went and got us barbecue because I asked her for it. So I told her next week we'll have sushi. I knew I'd get responses from everybody. That's a joke. We're not doing that. We're ready to resume the trial of the case. You can cross-examine.
Detective Yeager, when we left off, we had just finished about some of the things that you had done in regards to the extraction of the iPhone 5S that you created in January of 2015.
Correct.
I'm showing you what's been pre-marked for identification purposes, Defendant's Exhibit 31. During the break, I had you take a look at that, familiarize yourself with that disc, and that is in fact the forensic analysis report that you created based on the extraction of the iPhone 5S that you did in June of 2014. Correct?
It was July of 2014.
So July of 2014.
That's correct.
Same phone.
Same phone, same forensic analysis, yes.
And again, you created this.
Yes.
It's a true and accurate copy of the disc that you created. Or is
It is the original.
It's the original copy
It is.
that you created.
We create three.
And
One
this-
for the detective, one for the DA, and one for our office.
Okay. And this is one of the three that you
It
created.
is.
All right. I'll move to E31.
May I bother him briefly, Judge?
You may.
Thank you. Detective Yeager, you created that report. Is that something automatic you do through the computer or through your technology and your devices?
It's automatically happens as a matter of the procedure that we did.
In that disk, did you go back and search anything or do any search whatsoever of that disk for any material?
Not other than what I have itemized in my report.
Okay, and was that a previous disk that you'd actually done a search on?
Yes.
Okay, on that disk, did you do any searches on that one?
No.
That's all I have, Judge, and I would not object to its submission.
Not object.
He said he did, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't object to it being admitted for the limited purposes of it being in evidence, I get. I don't have a problem with it being admitted as to he created it. As far as the substance of what's in it, I do have an objection to him going into anything since he has reviewed nothing on that disc.
Well, that question hasn't been asked.
Okay, I'll withdraw my objection to the first question and the tendering of the evidence, Judge.
It's admitted.
Detective Yeager, would you mind stepping down, please? My hands you what's been admitted in evidence is D31. Can you go ahead and please take that out of the sleeve? And you would agree that that has your name on it?
Yes.
Okay. You created it? Okay. You provided it to the DA's office?
I provided the evidence unit for the DA's office.
So this copy was given to the DA's office?
The copy was given to the evidence unit for the DA.
Ultimately, they got it?
Yes.
Is this your handwriting?
It is.
Of Ross iPhone 5S?
Correct.
Let's back up. And this is the same program, UFED reader, that was used to demonstrate your direct examination.
Right.
And so where will I go to open this report? Right here, iPhone 5S report, UFDR,
Yes.
UFED reader?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do I have to open it through the program? Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Huh? All right. And so the jury understands the report that you went through that was selected, more refined, less comprehensive, is this one here, correct?
This one, that's this one here.
Okay.
That's that. That is a complete document.
This is the complete report?
They're both the same.
How do they be both the same?
Go into the tab that says extraction summary. This tab right here on the right.
This is not the new forensic analysis report that you created in January of 2015.
This is pretty nice.
The second one that you created in January of 2015, it just hasn't loaded yet. Is that what the program is showing here?
Right. This entry right here relates to this entry here. That entry.
This is the one that's loading here.
Correct.
Okay. While we're letting that load, do you remember the differences between this second extraction, second forensic analysis report that you created and the first
in the different categories between this one.
Okay. And specifically, what were the differences in record counts?
I don't know what they are offhand.
Okay. Did you go get your reports over the lunch break?
My report has the correct counts of the one I created initially, and then the one I created on CD on January of 2015.
It does have.
Those are the same counts.
It's the same count.
Right.
Okay. I thought you said that the difference was the counts of different categories of information.
That's on a different disk.
Okay. Well, where's that disk?
It's in evidence.
It's already in evidence?
Yes. Can I get my report?
Sure.
It's an evidence control record 232170.
And what is that exactly? 232170.
It's a different extraction than the one I did, the little analysis that I did do, and the one that you're bringing up right now.
Okay. I thought you said that there were two extractions done.
Right. 232170 has the extraction that was not reported in my report, nor was done on January 2015.
Well, which one is the most comprehensive forensic analysis report that shows the most information that was analyzed and acquired from that phone?
The one I created in January was the one I used to do the analysis on back in June of 14. Okay. The other one, I don't know if it's more comprehensive or less comprehensive. It is not the one I used to analyze and that I reported on in my original report that I created in September from my extraction in June of 2014.
Now, let me ask it this way. The first forensic analysis report that you created
Right.
did not recognize messages sent through an application called Whisper, correct?
I don't recall. I didn't look at that.
Do you recall going to meet with a private investigator named Jim Persinger?
Met with the DA's office, yes.
You met with him at the DA's office?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember that the purpose of that meeting was to determine who was the profile, who was the user
Right.
of certain messages created through the Whisper application?
Right.
Correct? There was a limitation with the first report that you created. It did not identify these Whisper messages
Okay.
on that application, correct?
I'll take your word for it. I don't recall.
You don't recall the purpose of that meeting?
No, I don't recall whether or not there were Whisper messages on the first report that I created.
Well, we just saw the first report, right, on direct examination.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Let's take a look. How many chats are indicated on this extraction report?
42.
Okay. There were way more than 42 messages on Ross Harris's iPhone. Isn't that true?
Yeah, messages are not just chats.
There were way more than 42 chats on Ross Harris's iPhone.
I don't recall.
Don't recall?
No, I didn't look at it. I created this report with this information on it,
Okay.
and then provided that report to the investigating detectives for them to review further.
All right. Well, you would agree that on this report, of the 42 chats, okay, it's broken down into two subcategories,
Right.
iMessage and Kick.
Right.
iMessage is the messaging format that comes with an iPhone.
Right.
Kick is an application that is also a messaging format.
Right.
Okay? Whisper is not on that one.
Okay.
All right.
Take your word for it.
Well,
I don't see it.
you don't see it. Okay. You went to meet with a private investigator that the DA's office hired to determine more information about whisper chats, correct?
I was part of that conversation, yes.
So you knew that this report here that you created
Right.
did not do a full comprehensive search, okay, digest of this phone.
What this software did was a comprehensive search based on the capability of the software at the time that we ran the extract.
Okay, and you met with a private investigator hired by the DA's office in 2014,
Right.
right? Fall of 2014. So just months after Cooper's death, okay? Months after initially extracting information from that iPhone, you knew that the software that you were using was handcuffing you. Okay? You weren't able to digest all the information on that phone.
I didn't know that.
Well, why'd you go to an investigator then? Why'd you go to
I went to speak with the investigator at the request of the DA's office to meet with him to discuss Whisper.
Okay. Did you tell the DA's office that wasn't necessary?
No,
It's fair to say that when you went to meet with a private investigator, you learned more information about that phone than you had previously. Correct?
probably.
Okay. You learned that the red image, okay, on Whisper, Ross did not create.
I didn't know that at the time.
The private investigator didn't tell you that?
No.
Have you been made aware since?
Objection, hearsay.
Probably do.
He's an expert judge.
Not an exception to hearsay. Become aware, heard from somebody else, it's hearsay.
He's been tendered as an expert on cross-examination. I'm permitted to go into the sources of information he was provided in rendering his opinion and offering his testimony today.
Well, your question didn't really do that.
Well, I'm laying the building watch for that. That's where I'm going.
Judge, may we approach briefly? Make clear this up.
You haven't been, or have you been made aware since that Ross did not create that red
Objection,
image
hearsay
on
again. Judge, this is a different issue than I just brought up. It's hearsay if somebody has told him about who did what.
Judge, is exactly why we approached, and the objection was overruled, and you allowed me to proceed.
That is not why I approached, Judge. This is a separate objection. Hearsay for anybody telling him about what was on the computer later.
Judge, may I respond? It's not offered for the truth of the matter, because it's not the truth. He didn't create the image.
I sustain the objection.
Thank you.
You'd agree that there were way more than 42 chats on Ross Harris's iPhone.
I don't know that. All I know is what I think in the extraction.
Are you the head of the high-tech crimes unit?
I'm not.
Were you at the time?
No.
Who was?
I believe Sergeant Peluso.
Did you work in conjunction with Detective R.B. Smith in analyzing this phone?
Not in conjunction, he did some analysis after I had done mine.
And the witness, come back to the witness.
Yes, absolutely. Just a minute here.
You'd agree that a copy of the forensic analysis report that you created was provided to Detective Escamillo in this case?
The final report was put into evidence, the one from January of 2015. Give me 1 second. Yes. And that was the one that was brought up in direct, that was the selected items, contacts and call logs.
The selected items did not contain chat messages between Ross and Leanna Harris.
No, did not.
Were you able to obtain that at some point? A full extraction that contained as many iMessage chats between Ross Harris and Leanna Harris?
Did I?
I'm going to object. I think we're confusing the issues here. He asked about the selected ones. We're not talking about the full extraction. We're talking about the selected with contacts, the person, and call logs. To make sure we're clear, I think Mr. Rodriguez is getting it confused, and he's misstating what the evidence is.
What do you say?
That's not an objection to my question. If he wants to develop his own testimony on redirect, he can. It's not an objection.
Objection is misstating the evidence.
It's not an objection.
Well, whether it is or not, I'm going to overrule it, and you're on cross-examination, and you can redevelop on your redirect,
Yes, ma'am.
or clarify, or whatever you think. Well, I'm not going to tell you to do. That's
Thank
not
you,
my
Judge.
place.
Were you made aware, well, you'd agree that this extraction doesn't have a full, complete log of iMessage chats between Ross Harris and Leanna Harris?
That extraction had everything that the extraction was capable of taking off the phone at the time it was run.
Okay, specifically, does it have all of the iMessages between Ross and Leanna?
At the time, that extraction had everything that it was capable of getting off the phone.
You don't know?
No, I just stated.
You don't.
The Celebrate extraction that you have out there got everything that was on the phone that system, that Celebrate software was capable of extracting at the time that it was run.
Okay. Since then, is there more information that's been obtained from that phone beyond this report that you created?
I believe there has been.
Okay.
And that's with the new version of the software from Celebrate.
Okay. So, which detective will know about that extraction?
I don't recall. I don't know because I haven't been in the unit since it happened.
So you're saying there's a new extraction after January 2015?
Yes.
Okay.
It's my understanding there is.
All right. And I mean, you're still working for the Cobb County Police Department?
As a reserve police officer in uniform.
Okay.
I do not work in the high-tech crimes unit anymore.
You don't?
I do not.
All right. So just to be clear, you don't know which detective or which detectives are fully aware of the contents of that phone?
There are 4 detectives in that unit. I don't know which one specifically did it.
Who are they?
They are, you mentioned Detective Smith,
Okay.
Detective Levon Mason,
Okay.
Detective P.K. Christiansen, and Detective Michael Uza.
Okay. So it's your understanding that one of those 4 that would have had to have done an extraction since you left in
Right.
January 2015, okay, would know the contents of the full extraction, full report of that phone.
And to correct you, that is a full extraction of the phone that the software was capable of at the time that it was run. Subsequent releases have come out because it's been almost 2 years since that was run. And the capability of the new software is to find more messaging.
And the new software has, correct?
is my understanding, yes.
And your testimony is that one of those 4 detectives, or maybe all those detectives, okay, would be aware of all of the information with the new software that's been obtained from that phone.
My answer is that I didn't do it and somebody else had to do it with the new system.
Okay. The Dell Dimension tower computer, there was no hard drive inside that tower, correct? The Google Chromecast, no forensic software is available to extract the data from that device.
Correct.
Okay. I believe your testimony on direct was that at the time there was no forensic software available. Is there any forensic software available now to extract information from that device?
I left that unit in January 2015. At that time, there was not.
Well, as you sit here today, you're an expert in computer forensics. Are you aware
I'm not aware of
of
that.
any ability to extract information from a Google Chromecast?
I'm not aware of any. There may be, but I'm not aware. I haven't kept up since I retired. I haven't kept up with the technology as much as I did when I was in it.
Does the Google Chromecast even store information to be extracted?
It could.
Okay. Like what?
Data. All it is a USB drive. It's a USB drive, which for the jury it's just a small, they call them thumb drives, plug it into a USB port. And Chromecast is a facility to allow broadcast of information between a large screen and a PC. So being that it's a storage device, you could move data to that storage device.
Okay. So if someone has the software today, or since you left, to obtain the data that was on that Chromecast, we'll just have to wait to hear from someone else.
I don't believe it's there, but yeah, you would
Okay.
have to get that from someone else.
All right. Leanna's MacBook Pro. You identified 13 files of interest, correct?
13 or 7?
Do you have all of your reports in front of you?
I have the one that I created when I created the report for the MacBook Pro on 6/26. And there were 7 files on that one.
My approach.
And then I did another report on 8/4 that included a lot of other data.
Well, let me stop you. Let me just get right to this.
Okay.
This is your report, correct? That's your name at the top?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Right. And the incident is assist other unit, crimes against persons,
Right.
correct?
Mhm.
Suspect, Justin Ross Harris.
Right.
The heading is computer forensic analysis. Okay.
Yes.
This is your report,
Yes.
right? I mean, it's true that on August the 4th, 2014,
I had 13 files of interest off an Apple Pro.
and this date, you did a computer forensic analysis and it was completed.
Correct.
All right? And in that computer forensic analysis, pursuant to the search warrant and pursuant to the high-tech crime submissions, you basically looked at all the data on the computer.
Based on what I pulled off there as data of interest, yes.
Okay. But just to be clear, you're looking at everything, all activity of the user.
Now, to clarify, when we do the analysis, we're not looking at every single item. We're looking at items that are of interest or that may be of interest. For example, I won't go in and look at every single picture in a document in detail, or in a folder in detail. I may do just look at the thumbnails for the folder and just preview that to see if there's anything of interest. If not, I'll go on, preview the thumbnails, but I don't look in detail necessarily at every picture. Something jumps out that looks of interest, then I'll blow the picture up, look at it, and look at the details of the data file.
Okay. You would agree with me that in your report, you don't state that there's any sort of limitation on your computer forensic analysis.
Correct.
Right? You said that it was completed and that's it, correct?
Yeah, it's completed, but that doesn't mean we can't go back later and look for more.
Sure.
Okay?
And during the analysis, what jumped out at you were 13 files of interest,
Right.
okay? A document of Cooper's week chart, correct?
Correct.
And these are your words, your notes, as a reminder of what the file is. It's
Correct.
age at each week of the calendar,
Correct.
okay? So you'd agree that document that you found to be of interest is consistent with a parent that is engaged in paying attention to their child's development, correct?
Wasn't my assumption necessarily. It was just of interest.
Why was it of interest?
I made no assumption that it was based on a parent interested in the growth of their child. It was just of interest that it logged the age of each week of the child.
Fair to say it's of interest because it has something to do with Cooper Harris.
Yes.
Leanne's resume.
Yes.
Okay. That doesn't really have anything to do with Cooper Harris, though, does it?
Other than she's his mother.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, you stated she's not a suspect.
As I understand it, she's not.
Okay. A wish list. Okay.
No.
Baby names. And you noted that those baby names are all female.
Correct.
Do you have any idea if Ross and Leanna were trying to have a second child?
I have no idea.
She saved a clip of her sonogram.
Right.
There's a document that you noted. It's called I Just Wanted to Let You Know, but your note was that it's about distress in their marriage.
Correct.
There's a address list for Leanna's baby shower.
Right.
Right? And that's important for you to know because that provides you with contacts of family members. Right?
People who know the family.
Right.
You
If
know.
detectives want to follow up and investigate what kind of parents they are,
Right.
this is a starting point.
Right.
A church shower address list. Okay. Also provides names of folks that know this family.
Right.
Okay. It's Time. This is a poem about loss of a loved one. Okay. Do you know any family member that Ross or Leanna had lost other than
No
Cooper
idea.
Harris?
No.
Okay. Do you know when this document was even saved or created?
I don't know from my report. I would have to look at the forensic report to see the dates and times of that document.
Okay. And then a document of See to Believe. And you noted that this was a poem about infidelity.
Correct.
Okay. And that's your interpretation of the poem,
It is,
right?
yes. I mean, all those notes are my interpretation,
Right.
yes.
All right. And then you also noted that there were 3 images of Cooper in a car seat transport. Right?
Correct.
And you noted that it demonstrates the growth of the victim, Cooper Harris.
Right.
You'd agree that there are way more than 3 images of Cooper in a car seat.
Probably so, yes.
Okay. You found 20 images of Cooper in a rear-facing car seat, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You'd agree, and you noted that it appears that the victim was in a rear-facing car seat as late as May 24th of 2014, just a few
Right.
weeks before Cooper died.
And that may very well not been when the picture was taken, but when it was loaded on the computer.
Okay. Your note is that it appears to have outgrown the seat.
Yes.
Okay, but you're not aware of Cooper's measurements or anything like that?
No, it's just an observation, being a father of 5 and a grandfather of 9, and having toted a lot of kids around, that I can tell when the car seat's too small for a kid.
Did you further investigate to see if Cooper was actually well within the range of that car seat?
He was too big for it because his head extended over the top, or was too high on the car seat.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, that was my interpretation.
You could be wrong.
Could be. I doubt it.
2 suspect images with a Post-it note on his forehead that states, "Good morning, I love you, me and Cooper miss you."
Correct.
Right? And that was of note to you.
Yes. And I believe that picture was taken at his work.
You also did analysis of a, well, before I move on. On this MacBook specifically, having at least flipped through, scrolled through, and done a complete analysis as your report indicates, you didn't find any evidence whatsoever of searching for in-car deaths.
If I had searched for it and found it, it would have been in my report. If I searched for it and didn't find it, it wouldn't be in the report. If I didn't search for it, it wouldn't be in the report.
I mean, just to be clear though, nothing about murder or homicide.
If I searched for it and found something about it, it would be in my report. If I searched for it and didn't find anything, it wouldn't be in my report. And if I didn't search for it, it wouldn't be in my report.
So either you didn't look for it or you
Or
looked
didn't
for it
find it.
and it wasn't there.
Correct.
And you would agree with me that either you didn't look for murder or homicide, or you looked and it wasn't there.
Correct.
But you would agree with me that in a murder case, you would probably look for anything that indicates a file about murder. Right? And there'd be no reason why you wouldn't look for that.
Objection, Judge, if you could let the witness answer before he starts the second question.
You'd agree there's no reason why you wouldn't look for a file that has anything to do with murder.
Correct.
In this case, given the circumstances of Cooper's death, there's no reason you wouldn't look for any file related to child deaths inside vehicles, right?
If I searched for it and found it, it would be in my report. If I searched for it and didn't find it, it wouldn't be in my report. If I didn't search for it, it wouldn't be in the report.
Do you know which one?
Which one do
Which one is it? That you
I
didn't
don't
look
know.
for it, or you looked for it and didn't find it?
I can't tell you.
But you were specifically told, though, that Ross and Leanna had allegedly told the police that they had researched in-car deaths,
Right.
right? So, having been told that they had allegedly done this researching over the internet, you would absolutely look for that very thing, right?
More than likely, yes.
Right? I mean, you've got a ton of experience. You've done way more devices in a case than this one. As you said on direct, you're well equipped to do it, right? There's no reason why you wouldn't be looking for this stuff. And you did look for this stuff.
I
And you
very well
didn't
could have
find
and
it.
didn't find anything.
You
Correct.
didn't find it. The reality is that having been told, having been given a request form, having been given a search warrant that specifically alleged that Ross and Leanna told them that they researched in-car deaths, you didn't find anything in this Apple MacBook or that iPhone that would corroborate that allegation.
Objection, asked and answered.
I'll allow it.
Can you answer the question, please?
You say it again?
Sure. Having been specifically told that Ross and Leanna had allegedly stated to detectives that they had researched in-car deaths on the internet, you found no evidence on the iPhone or Leanna's MacBook to corroborate that allegation.
I found nothing that made statements to that effect. Correct.
On on direct, you talked about a My Passport external hard drive.
Yes.
It's on the same page of your report that we were just talking about. You didn't go over any of that on direct, but I'm going to ask you. You found 15 files of interest on that external hard drive, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
One is an Excel spreadsheet of contacts for a police department, correct?
Yes,
Okay. One's a document about a 50-round basic police handgun course,
correct.
80-hour curriculum of Alabama lateral entry police officer training.
Correct.
Hotel rates for police officers, right?
Correct.
Alabama child restraint law in 2006.
Yes.
More law enforcement hotel rates. Fair to say all of these documents, or most of these documents on this external hard drive are law enforcement related, and specifically Alabama law enforcement.
Yeah, most of them are, yes.
Okay. Did you investigate the context in which, or did you investigate to find out the truth about why these are important?
I don't do that investigation. My investigation is finding this information, to pass that on to the investigating detectives who are investigating the crime.
You want to provide detectives with a starting point, I guess?
Well, a starting point or anything that may be pertinent to assist their investigation.
Okay. And it's fair to say that having been specifically informed by detectives in the exam submission form and in the search warrant that Ross had allegedly researched criminal statutes pertaining to this case on the internet, that's why this was notable to you, right?
Yes, because it showed a contact or a desire to be associated with law enforcement.
Well, did you know that his brother is a sergeant with Tuscaloosa Police Department?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Nope.
Okay. Did you know that Ross was paid to do work for the Law Enforcement Academy of Tuscaloosa? That he rebuilt
Nope.
their website?
No.
No idea.
No.
The SanDisk Cruiser. That was State's Exhibit 299. 299.
Okay.
Okay. You found nothing.
Correct.
Okay. They admitted into evidence the contents of an electronic device where you found nothing.
Correct.
And by nothing, it's nothing that is consistent or corroborates the allegations that were detailed in the search warrant or in the evidence submission form
Nothing of evidentiary value
for the state.
for the state. Yes.
And that's what you're looking for.
Correct.
Items of evidentiary value to the state.
Correct.
On the PNY SD card, that was State's Exhibit 298. 298. You found nothing.
Correct.
Nothing of evidentiary value to the state,
Correct.
because that's what you're looking for. Correct?
Correct.
You talked about 2 different Lenovo ThinkPads. The first that I want to talk to you about is a Lenovo T510 ThinkPad.
The 510.
That's right. Can you
That's
get,
one we got at a later date.
that's right. That's the older one, correct?
Well, it's older just by the model number.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was actually Ross's old computer. Correct?
As far as I know, it was the property of Home Depot because it was encrypted, and we had to get the encryption from Home Depot in order to in order to acquire it.
Okay. And this encryption, I mean, that's something that Home Depot did, right? Because
Yes.
it was in their storage, right?
Correct.
They're protecting their property, right? That wasn't anything that Ross did to try and
Right.
hide evidence.
That was something Home Depot does. And that's to protect the corporation.
Sure. And on June the 20th of 2014, this this Lenovo laptop, is this the one that was in sleep mode on June the 20th?
Are you referring to the T530?
Looking at your report page, those aren't numbered. Let me see the report,
Yes.
please. Okay. 275.
Okay. 75. Okay. Okay.
At the very bottom of the page. What Lenovo ThinkPad laptop were you analyzing then?
That was the T530.
The 530?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. The T510, okay. There was literally nothing stored on that device, correct?
No, there's no data evidentiary value on that device.
Okay. And Detective Stoddard requested an analysis of that computer. Isn't that correct?
One second, excuse me. Yes, he did.
You remember when he did that?
On August 19th.
Once you got the encryption code, you were able to power on that computer?
That's correct.
Okay. And you'd agree that the times for the suspect machine was off by a little bit by
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. That's not unusual for an electronic device to not be 100% synced up with time.gov, which is what you used as kind of the control for time. You'd agree that's not unusual?
No, it's not.
Okay. Is every device different as far as tracking time, the accuracy of time?
Well, they used to say the watch is as accurate as a computer, and computers are notoriously inaccurate in keeping time. Okay. So, yes, generally you'll find the times on the computers are not the same as the government time or the absolute time.
Okay. And with electronic devices, I want to kind of broaden it. I mean, we're talking about computers, phones. What about surveillance videos?
I have no idea about surveillance. Well, they can be off because usually that's set by the user. But if we go back to a second for phones, phones are different.
Okay.
Okay.
Why are they different?
Because they're on a cellular network, and that cellular network is what keeps the time up. So they're constantly being updated to ensure that the time is accurate.
So that's a good measure of time. I mean, that's a pretty accurate measure.
Yeah, it's not time.gov, but it is a good accurate measure of time, yes.
Do you know what the kind of margin of error would be?
No, I haven't looked yet.
Fair enough. On that note, looking to the Lenovo T530 ThinkPad. Okay. Over the break, I had asked you to take a look at this disk. What's been pre-marked for identification purposes is D32. And you recognize that, correct?
Yes.
That is
for the Lenovo T530.
Right.
Steve.
That was the laptop computer that was in Ross's possession when he was arrested.
Right, and also property of Home Depot.
And is this fair and accurate copy of the IEF report that you created?
That is the original.
That's the original. Okay. I'll move D32.
No objection.
Admitted.
Detective Yeager, will you step back, please? Sure. Assist me in the demonstration of the contents of this IEF report. On direct, there was a disk of selected data from this computer, right? And it only had 5 links, right? You'd agree that this IEF report is a full computer forensic analysis of the contents of that computer, right? Okay? The format's the same, right? The only difference is there's more information, right? Okay? Now, if you would, switch places. I'm gonna let you take over the computer. Do you teach law enforcement in computer forensics?
No, I don't.
Did you ever?
No.
Now, if we wanted to know what search words Ross Harris typed on this computer, how would we do that?
There's this item right here. This item right here. Okay, those are search queries would come out under our search query.
Click on that, please. You said that search bar up in the top right-hand corner, that's where you can identify very quickly. You can type in a word to see if Ross Harris had ever searched for that word. Okay? Will you type in child free? You agree with me? No results for child free.
As a search term, yes.
Okay. And what if we put a space between child and free?
Go ahead.
What's the difference there?
There is no returns on it. Search term.
Okay. So it doesn't matter whether he searched it as 1 word or 2 words. On this computer, he never searched it, correct?
He never searched it.
Okay.
Now, there's a difference between searching and just entering a URL address.
Okay. And that difference is going to the URL search box at the top of Internet Explorer, Safari, or one of these web browsers, and typing in specifically reddit.com/r/childfree. What y'all talked about on direct, though, is this same computer. Okay. You specifically created a report about child free, right?
Right.
And in that report, you did not include the fact that he never searched in the parse search queries. He never typed in the words in a search bar, Google, Bing, Yahoo, child free.
Not in the search term, correct.
You didn't include that in that report.
I didn't include that it wasn't there.
Right.
Why would I include that if it's not there?
Well, you didn't include it, okay, because it does not provide the state with any evidence of researching child free.
Objection, that's argumentative, Judge.
It is, I sustain the objection.
You didn't include a parsed search queries category in that report.
Correct.
Right? So with that report that you talked about on direct, detectives wouldn't be able to take that report and see, did Ross type this word? They wouldn't be able to do that there. Right?
On the report with 5 entries of child free in it?
Correct.
Not as a search query, no.
Right. But on this one, you can. Right? On this report.
Well, there's no need to because there are only 5 entries
Right.
in the report I created.
Right. And in the report you created, it was clicks from April of 2014, correct?
One of them was an actually typed address,
Right?
and 4 of them were clicks.
Okay. Did you investigate the context or the truth surrounding that web visit?
No,
You did? Do you know if anyone did?
I don't.
Just circle around so you get a better view of the monitor. You're aware that Ross Harris used Reddit all the time, correct?
No.
You're not aware of it?
I know I found some Reddit entries. I'm not aware that he used it all the time.
Okay. If we typed in the word Reddit.
Now, you're in part search queries. These are going to be queries that actually went, see where it says search engine?
Right.
That means you were in Google or Bing or some other search engine and typed a query.
I understand, and we're gonna go through it.
Okay.
But right now, we're on parse search queries. You would agree that he typed in Reddit as a search query
Right, you get a lot.
a lot, okay? And as far as times go, you can scroll over to the right,
Right.
and there's a column here that allows you to view if there is time information about that result, right? Why aren't there any time information results for each one of these files?
I don't know, scroll over to the left. I can't tell you why there's not time entries there.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and talk to the vendor.
Okay. It's not uncommon for some files to have information about the times that they were visited and some files to not. Correct?
Generally, not as a rule, but generally, there won't be times because there are entries that have either expired or been deleted, and all the information may not be there.
Okay. There's no indication here that the time information was deleted,
No, I'm saying that the whole record may have been deleted.
just by the computer itself. The computer has its own processes, and it might not store some information, and it might store others.
Now, if it was an active record, it would have a time in it. What I'm saying is that this entry of this browser activity may have been deleted, and as a result, the time wasn't still in that record.
Okay. Now, if we wanted to look at everything that Ross searched on a given day, we can do that with this, right?
Right.
So for example, 06, 18, 2014.
It's just taking time to search it.
All right. All right. This allows the person reviewing your analysis to know what he searched, what terms he typed on June the 18th.
Right.
Okay? Did you investigate or follow up on the context in which he searched pedal train, pedal mondo?
Again, my analysis is to get the information, to extract all of this, provide this vehicle or this output to the investigating detectives so that they can go in and find the things that were of interest in their investigation.
Okay. Now, I'm not talking about
hitting the streets and interviewing witnesses? Did you follow up and investigate within this very own device the context in which a pedal train, pedal mondo search was done at 3:23:20 p.m. And actually, it's UTC.
So it'd be 4 hours earlier than that.
Okay, so we subtract 4 hours from these times.
Right.
Okay?
Because UTC, just for the jury, UTC is Greenwich Mean Time. It's what pilots use. They also call it Zulu time. And that's the median, that divides days. So that's the 0 hour. And before it is midnight, after it's 12:01. So UTC time is recorded by all computers because it's a common time. So daylight savings time in the Eastern time zone is minus 4 hours from UTC time.
So in June of 2014 in Georgia,
It's minus 4.
it's -4.
Right.
Okay. Now, again, not talking about you going to interview witnesses, interview friends. Did you investigate the context of this search on any of the electronic devices that you were asked to analyze?
No.
In April of 2014, you noted in your very specific report that there was this entry about child free.
In April?
Not that you did the analysis in April, but that subreddit was visited in April. Did you know that?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Your report.
Which I have right in front of me.
You created a specific report about the child-free subreddit.
Right.
Okay? When did Ross visit that website?
I don't have that on my report. It's on the forensic report, and we have to look at that.
I'm showing you a printout. Now it's small. Those are the 5 links that were in your report that were discussed on direct examination, correct?
Right.
All right, and there are times of last visited date and time,
Right.
okay? And all 5 were April the 28th, 2014,
Correct.
at approximately 2 o'clock
In the afternoon.
in the afternoon,
Correct.
okay? Never again did he visit these sites.
Never again was there another one in this computer as of June 19th of 2014 that you visited the site.
All the evidence you have is that this child-free was visited once in April.
4 times in April.
Okay.
5 times in April.
Okay. Did you look at those websites?
I did not.
Well, how did you know that child-free was even relevant to this investigation if you didn't even look at the website?
More than likely, it was a search for child or child-free, and that's what came up. And I turned that over to the investigating detectives for their follow-up.
So you had no idea if this was a website about getting free stuff for kids.
Correct.
Did you ever do a follow-up into this website? Well, who did? Who would I ask questions about regarding investigating child free?
I would imagine Detective Stoddard, who was the lead detective on it.
That's it? is the only person that knows about child free?
Objection calls for speculation, Judge, and relevance as to who knows about it.
Well, I sustain the objection.
Who did you provide the child free report to?
Detective Escamilla.
Okay. So Detective Escamilla should know something about that, correct?
He'll know about my report. I can't say what he did with it after that.
He may or may not have investigated it. Okay. That may or may not actually be important. Correct?
Important to what?
This case.
It may or may not be,
Right.
but investigation would determine.
And so if we want, and back to this full report of Ross's activity on the Lenovo work computer, you can look at what he searched on June the 17th.
Right.
Okay? Every single day leading up to Cooper's death. If you want to know what Ross was researching on this computer, this will tell you, right? What he's typing, correct? If I type in the word how, right, this will give me any time the word how was typed in a search toolbar.
No, it'll be, anytime the word how is in that record.
Okay. You'd agree that this search term here, how many people join the master's lottery? Okay. If we type in how to, this analysis allows whoever's examining this computer to know that Ross typed in those search terms on June the 9th, 2014. Okay. What search terms did you type in to this parse search queries toolbar to find out any items of interest?
I don't know if I did type any in. I got no hits because it's not my report.
In your report, you didn't list out all of the terms that you used.
Correct. I only listed out the terms that gave me a return.
Do you know how many searches you ran for this computer?
I don't,
Okay. Do you know how long you spent on this computer?
I don't recall, but just based on the fact that it was about a month before I created the final report,
Okay.
probably significant.
All right. So did you spend a lot of time on this computer? Analyzing this computer?
What's a lot of time?
A month?
No.
Okay. 3 weeks?
No.
Okay.
I probably spent hours, maybe a couple days.
All right. Maybe a total of 48 hours?
Maybe. That's probably a bit much, but
All right. So maybe 36? I mean, what's...
I don't know
what's
what the
exact
number
for
is.
you?
I don't have a number to tell you because I don't know what that number is. Okay. I spent time searching through the computer, looking for things on the computer. What my report reflects is those that were positive responses to searches.
Do you believe you were thorough?
As thorough as I could have been at the time, yes.
Okay. Is there anything going on at this time that would have prevented you from being thorough?
Just a lot of activity.
Okay. But I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and you've got a very sophisticated unit. You were well equipped to handle all these devices, right?
We were quick to handle it.
Okay. And do a good job?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And so when you were being thorough, okay, and spending hours and hours examining this device, okay, you didn't find any research of how to survive in prison, correct?
I did not. As I said, if I did, it'd be in my report.
Okay.
If I didn't, I either didn't search for it, or I did search for it and didn't find it.
Can we go back to this one? Are you still there?
I'm gonna go through different portions of the report here.
Oh, just be mindful of that.
Sure, of course. You were aware, however, that Ross had been alleged to have researched how to survive in prison on this very computer.
Okay,
Correct?
I believe so from the request that we got.
You never wrote a report to say the allegation that he researched how to survive in prison does not exist.
No,
You never wrote that.
I don't write reports about things that don't exist.
Even if
Even
the
if
police
it's an
allege that
allegation.
they do.
That's up for the investigating detective to find out.
Did you tell anybody Ross never researched how to survive in prison?
No, because if I did, and I found it, it would be in my report. If I didn't find it, it doesn't go any further than that. I don't report what I don't find.
Well, you included in your report several times, no items of evidentiary value or no items of notable interest, right?
For the entire device.
For the entire device. Okay. So when you agree that when you find nothing, you can say, I found nothing. Right? You did.
But when I found something, I reported it.
And the only thing you found on this device was child-free.
That's correct.
Right?
Right.
In your opinion, the only thing of evidentiary value to the state on this device is child-free.
Correct.
You take the stand, please. Just a second, Judge, please.
Sure.
Detective Yeager,
Yes.
you had mentioned on direct about the importance of working off of a copy, an exact copy of the data that you extract from an electronic device. Okay? I believe your words were, you don't want to change the original evidence, right? That's important to maintain the evidentiary value, the integrity of a piece of evidence, right? And in your line of work, or at the time, electronic devices, phones and computers, okay? If someone were to power on the original Lenovo work computer, okay, and type in child-free, okay, and then there was an extraction done, okay, that report, right, would indicate something very different, okay, a web visit later in time than the original when it was taken into custody, correct?
Correct.
You don't want to tinker with the original piece of evidence.
Right.
Right? Do you know if anyone powered on and manipulated and scrolled through any of the original pieces of evidence in this case?
I know that I had one computer that was in sleep mode,
Okay.
and when I opened it up, it began to boot up.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately shut it down, powered it down, and made note of that in my report.
Okay. You did not want to change the original piece of evidence.
Correct.
Okay. Are you aware of anyone else, any detectives in this case, anyone else that powered on and manipulated the original pieces of electronic evidence in this case?
I am not.
That would violate standard operating procedure for the high-tech crime squad, wouldn't it?
Correct.
you had mentioned the San Bernardino case and Celebrite's ability to basically get into that phone without Apple's assistance.
I didn't state it as fact. I said I believe that they were the company.
That's your understanding.
Yes,
You said that Celebrite's the gold standard,
it is.
right? You're aware that those folks in the San Bernardino case, they had burned items of evidence, correct? They had tried to.
I'm not aware of what the status of that evidence was.
Okay. Ross's iPhone was not encrypted, correct?
As far as I know, yeah, it wasn't.
There wasn't any indication whatsoever that he was deleting applications or hiding evidence on June the 18th.
I don't know.
It wasn't.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary for you to get the assistance of the FBI or Celebrite to hack into his devices because he had somehow manipulated them, right?
No, that's correct.
Would it be fair to say that some devices you did a comprehensive, spending hours of analysis examining those devices, and some you just pulled the information and just gave it to someone else to do?
I did, and that was based on a request of the investigating detectives.
That's all I have right now, Judge.
Redirect.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Rodriguez said that this form said that the police stated that they, the defendant actually researched, or said he'd researched penalties or something about prison, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what does this say?
Says, the male suspect also made statements regarding details about criminal charges, making us suspect that he may have researched the penalties for a case such as this or specific criminal charges such as murder.
Okay, so they didn't put in this that he researched anything about prison, or he said that he researched statutes. He said that he made statements about details of criminal charges, correct?
Correct.
And have you watched his interview or anything? Did you get that deep in this case?
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Okay, and again, just to make sure we're clear, your role in this case was it majority to just extract the information, give it to the detectives, or to be the one doing the most thorough searches, not knowing the details of the case?
It was to get, well, first of all, it was maintain the integrity of the original evidence, get copies that we could use going forward for any additional research we wanted to do, and then give that information to the investigating detectives who knew all the details of the case and the people involved.
And you may not even be aware of this, but just asking to follow up based on the defense's questions. Were you aware that, or do you know if other detectives looked at stuff on the logo and actually found other things relevant to this case?
I believe they have, because there were other detectives assigned to do some of the devices.
Okay. So just saying because you didn't find something doesn't mean it wasn't there.
Correct.
There were some questions asked about, I know some photographs of Cooper in a car seat and things like that. And just to clear this up, you stated that as up until at least May 24th, 2014, as far as these photos. Tell the jury, what is that about? What was the date listed for some of these photographs on the computer that allegedly belonged to Leanna Harris?
They had dates on them as late as May 29th, 2014, and May 24th of 2014, with pictures of Cooper in rear-facing and front-facing car seats that were on Leanna Harris's computer.
Okay, and this wasn't on a camera or a phone. This is an actual computer, right?
Yes.
Okay, and did some of these pictures, which had the same creation dates, did the child look different ages during this?
The child did, yes.
Okay, so could these been older pictures just downloaded to the computer as a backup from the phone?
It very well could have been.
Okay.
Or downloaded to be saved.
I believe defense counsel asked you early on, a while back on a cross-examination about whether there were searches for divorce or marital problems or anything like that. In some of these items that you found on Leanna's MacBook, some of these documents, did they actually evince issues that there may have been marital problems and difficulties going back years?
Well, I did find one that had something to do with marital issues.
And specifically with, just to make sure we're clear here on the iPhone 5, did you do any searching of that phone other than that minimal initial search where you did the contacts and messages, things like that, and then found the name and contact information and call logs that you provided the detective?
That was the extent of the research and analysis I did on that. The rest was all turned over to the investigating detectives.
It would have been on them to coordinate having other people look at the phones, look at computers, and see if there was anything specific to the knowledge they had in the case.
That's correct.
Two other things. Just to clarify, the child free was on the defendant's work computer, right? I just want to make sure that was, we may have got it mixed up between Leanna's or the defendant's Lenovo.
It was on the defendant's work computer that's owned by Home Depot.
Okay, and that was that the Lenovo?
Lenovo T530, yes.
Okay. And just because this was introduced the other day, just to make sure we finalize this, looking at Stacy's Exhibit 297 that's been admitted, you recognize that?
Yeah, these, I believe, there's 7 blanks, DVDs, and 1 DVD with data on it.
Okay. And looking at these blank DVDs and the one that had some data on it, was there anything you found relevant in this?
Nothing that seemed of evidentiary value.
And all this stuff was available, though, for detectives to go back and see if there was, other than your cursory review?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Detective Yeager, you talked about some of the items of interest to you that you found on the Apple MacBook, and we even specifically discussed the photo of Ross Harris that you believe he took at work.
Yes.
And does that fairly and accurately depict a printout of the forensic analysis report
It does.
specifically of that photograph?
Yes.
I'll move D33.
No objection.
Admitted.
Publish.
Yes.
This was of interest in your investigation, correct?
It was, yes.
You would agree that it provides evidence relevant to the relationship between Ross and Cooper Harris, correct?
I would imagine you.
Ross and Leanna, right? Their love for their child.
And their contact during work hours as well.
On redirect, you were asked about this poem of infidelity, the document about marital problems on Leanna's computer.
Right.
Fair to say that appears that this is no secret to Leanna Harris, the user of that computer.
Evidently not.
Some items of evidence, you did a thorough analysis. Some, you just passed it to someone else for them to do. Is that true?
As far as items of evidence, no, that's not true. With every computer, the internet evidence files, there's 2 things we do. first we do the copy to get the image. Then we run Internet Evidence Finder, and that looks at all artifacts that have to do with Internet activity.
Okay.
Okay? All of those for all the computers were turned over to the investigating detectives. Okay? The further analysis that we would do would be looking for additional items beyond Internet artifacts that they wouldn't have the ability to do, mainly because it takes a lot of computing power to run that process. Okay? So there was additional work done on some of those computers to look for that additional evidence.
As far as the iPhone goes, Ross's iPhone, 5S, is it fair to say that you pulled the information off of it? You didn't really analyze or review the information on all the information on that device, but the exact copy, byte by byte, was given to someone else, another detective to review and analyze.
What was given to the investigating detectives was the Celebrate UFED report that you had up that you were able to search on.
Right.
They're able to do the same searches. So they're doing that off the copy and the report that was created from that copy. So that's what they're doing the research from.
Okay. You're not doing follow-up investigation. You're not doing in-depth analysis of the context or the truth of items of evidence that you find on the computer or the phone.
Correct.
That's someone else's job.
Right.
Okay. When you specifically noted the child-free visits on the Lenovo work computer, okay,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you have been looking for child-free on every other device that you were analyzing?
More than likely, yes.
And you didn't find them?
If I had found it, it would have been in my report. If I didn't find it, it wouldn't be in my report. And if I didn't run it, it wouldn't be in my report.
You ran a search for child-free. We know that.
Right.
So it
On one
can't
computer.
be one or the other. You didn't find it.
Or I didn't, but more than likely, I didn't find it. Right.
Thank you.
Hate to get back up again. All right. This photograph, they created, when was that on the photograph here where he's at work messaging his wife?
It was 10/28/13 at 10:30 p.m. That was more than likely when it was downloaded to the computer.
So it could have even been earlier than October, 2013, right?
It could have been, yes.
Okay, and the document he talked about saying it was no secret to Leanna from this old document that they had some problems in their marriage, maybe infidelity,
Right.
or it was about infidelity. Did it say anything about prostitutes or messaging underage girls?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I just know it was problems in the marriage.
So you don't know if that was a secret to Leanna, do you?
I don't.
Okay, that's all I have.
I'm done.
You're excused. Let's take our afternoon recess. Close your notepads, take them with you, keep it up in mind. No conversations about the case. Y'all step out, enjoy your break.
Judge, for scheduling, we
As soon as they're gone, we
Oh,
can
yeah.
talk about it. That's what I was gonna do. I won't
Okay.
go anywhere.
Please watch your step going down.
I was gonna remind y'all that we need to wrap it up between 4:30 and 5. What did you wanna address with me?
Oh, Judge, I was gonna say, we actually have, we have 3 witnesses here. We have one who did one device which nothing was found on. We have, or that she found nothing on, didn't even search. We have 2 other witnesses, and they both, if we could stay to get them done, I don't think they're gonna be that long, but they came down specifically from Atlanta. So,
Can we ask who they are?
yes, Danielle Abdur and Ralph Escamilla.
Well, I think that's gonna take a little while.
childcare issues.
I understand.
Just coming in earlier.
Yes.
You cut lunches down to pretty brief. I'll tell them to take a quick break.
Yes, sir.
They have to go upstairs and downstairs. Let's see if we can do it in about 25 after.